So I told the people in Frackville yesterday, we're kind of ending the first half of the season of Lent. In the first half, you notice all the gospel passages were from the synoptic gospels, which are Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And they're kind of like passages of preparation and examination of conscience, and kind of really getting us into the penitential season of Lent. Next Tuesday when we have Mass, we're going to start the Gospel of John, and really just kind of look at Jesus' journey. We're going to look at the tension, between Jesus and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes, that tension that's going to build up to having them handed over and having them crucified. And we're also going to get a deeper meaning, of his mission, especially that of his mission, which leads and fulfills into his passion, death, and resurrection. So we're going to kind of have it start next week, a change of tone in the season of Lent. But today, let's kind of put a little bow on this first half here, which kind of gives us, on this Friday in the third week of Lent, kind of gives us a nice summary of what the spiritual life is all about. Begins with the question of what's the first of all the commandments. Okay, so of all the commandments, and I think people would say there's like 518 of them. We have the 10 commandments, but then also other laws and stuff like that in the Old Testament. And Jesus says the primacy is to love God. And he says in 4 ways to live with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. Okay, this is the Hebrew way of saying your entire life, entire person is meant first and foremost to give your love over to God, and that there should be nothing else that competes with that. As those that are doing the Lenten Companion series, we're exploring that right now, the competition, that we have with our hearts and our love of God, that there's other things competing with that. A big struggle with us in our spiritual life. But then the second part that I want to hone in on, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Let me ask this question. How can we love our neighbor then if one doesn't love himself or herself? Now, maybe I'm talking to the wrong crowd here, but at Marion, I see a lot of students who don't love themselves. So much pressure is being put upon them in terms, first of all, pressure among their peers and the acceptance of their peers, but also the pressure that's put on them, by the parents, by the teachers, to perform at a very high level. Their whole life is dependent on, right now, at least in their mindset, the whole life is dependent on that really love's only rewarded to them if they do well in whatever respect it is, in grades, in athletics, or maybe just the character of the person. I will be loved if I meet this bar. Okay, I will be loved if I meet this bar. If I meet this expectation, then I'm worthy of love. They don't say that to themselves outwardly, but inwardly, subconsciously, I think that's really what's happening in so many of them. But for us as adults and more experienced in life, not that you're old, I'm just saying you have more life experience, okay? But maybe there's something that we don't like about ourselves. And maybe that's, maybe that's holding us back. When you come to Mass, when you look at the Blessed Sacrament, when you're in God's presence, in the real presence of the Eucharist, first and foremost, he's looking at you with an unimaginable divine love and a gaze towards you. You are, in the most truest sense, his beloved son and his beloved daughter. That's what you are to God the Father. Yeah, you love your children? Yeah. Well, guess what? The love of God that he loves for you your divine son, your divine daughter is much greater than any love that you ever had towards your children. And that's saying something. That's saying a lot. But if we don't get that part right, if we don't love ourselves and have that same gaze towards us the way that God does towards us, there's no way we can love our neighbor. And again, I think of all the sins that we commit against our neighbor, for many of us, it's sin of anger towards them, gossip and putting others down. A lot of times we're just not feeling good ourselves, first and foremost. So the love of ourself, but the love, not the love in a pride or vain way, but the love of the imitation of just loving us the way that God loves us. That's what we're called to be. That same type of love. When we get that right, not only can we return love back to God with all of our heart, mind, and soul, but then we're also able to love our fellow human being. May God bless you.